85 cities, nearly 3,000 arrests. That's the outcome of protests which swept across Russia from Vladivostok to Kaliningrad. All of these protests illegal and unsanctioned, and the authorities reacted accordingly with violent clashes seen in many of those cities, none less than in Moscow, where over 800 protesters were arrested. Many of them knew this was going to happen. There were no doubts that authorities would clamp down on the protests, saying that they breached coronavirus legislation and they breached the law requiring early notice of any mass protest. But people came out anyway, and their concern was twofold. One was with the detention of political activist Alexei Navalny, who's being held in detention in Moscow awaiting trial. Many of his supporters believe that this is a politically motivated detention. But there's also another strand to these protests, ones which revolve around against President Putin. They're seen as anti-Putin protests because a lot of Russians are unhappy with the economic situation in Russia right now and the way the COVID-19 pandemic has been handled. The organizers of the protest say we deserve an honest government that loves its people, not crooks, murderers and thieves. The Kremlin responded to that, saying that this is not about creating a new popular government. This is about a man's obsession with power. These things are on the minds of Russians all the time. There's always claims about Russian abuse of power, but what Navalny's done with his recent return and his publication of these videos is catalyze that anger into a public display of protest. Another casualty, though, of the riots, of the protests, apart from just the protesters themselves, was relations with the United States. The US Embassy being called in by Russia's foreign ministry for publishing a route of the map through Moscow. They said that not even the organizers published the route, and yet the US Embassy did so, and that gave away very important information and could potentially be seen as inciting the protests. So the ambassador to Russia will be seen next week. An end for a very long day for lots of Russia, and what will happen next will be another protest at the weekend, next weekend, and we'll see whether that brings the same sort of turnout. Stuart Smith, CGTN, Moscow.